Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we're back with another Pioneer deck tech, and today we're going to be talking about Abzan Aristocrats, a deck that I'm very excited to talk about today. As always, at the end of the video, let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about this deck? Is there a specific card that I should have put in this deck that I did not? Or do you have suggestions for upcoming videos? Just let me know in the comment section. Okay, Abzan Aristocrats, a deck that I've always liked for a long time in Pioneer, and this deck got a huge boost from a new card from Final Fantasy, and that card, of course, being Sephro Fable Soldier. I don't know why that's capitalized. I don't play Final Fantasy. But anyways, this card is absolutely insane. I think it's one of the best cards in the entire set. So 3/3 for 3, whenever it enters or attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, draw a card. Whenever another creature dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. If it's the 4th time it's triggered, you transform into a 5/5 flyer, and then we get an emblem with whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. And then whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice any number of other creatures. If you do, draw that many cards. Okay, this card is just absolutely insane. Not even because, like, we don't even have to have the Sephiroth one-winged angel part. We can just have the front side, and this card is just absolutely insane as it is. And yeah, I think it's perfect for this deck. The reason I have the question mark for the price down there is because as I'm recording this video, we're currently nearing the end of spoiler season, and I don't know how expensive this card's going to be. I really don't know how a lot of the Final Fantasy cards' prices are going to be, so if you're wondering why there's the question mark there for the price, that's why, because the card's insane. I could see it being like a $10 card, I could see it being like a $40 card, who knows, but this card is crazy. So let's go and talk about the rest of the deck here. We're playing 30 creatures in this deck, and I think they synergize really well with each other. So, we're playing 4 copies of Gilded Goose. This card's just good, helps make us mana, makes food tokens. We have a card that can take advantage of specifically the food tokens, at least to sacrifice, helps fix our mana. Great card. We're playing 4 copies of Blister Pod and 2 copies of Infestation Sage as like our 1/1s that when they die, we get a bonus. I think that these are the best ones that we can play, just because obviously the Blister Pod, we get the Eldrazi Scion, so we can help make an extra mana, and then the Infestation Sage makes a flyer, which is pretty good. I know there's a few other of these effects that we could possibly play, like Hunted Witness, but I really like the Blister Pod and the 4 Infestation Sage. We're also playing 4 copies of Cruel Celebrant and 4 copies of Vengeful Blood Witch as our other pingers or drain creatures, whatever you want to call them. It's whenever they or another creature dies, each opponent that we control dies specifically, each opponent loses 1 life and we gain 1 life. The one thing with Vengeful Blood Witch is it's technically, so I could have played Zulaport Cutthroat. The reason why I'm playing Vengeful Blood Witch is it's really just to help our budget. I can play the Zulaport Cutthroats, and those are going to be like $1.50 each, or I can play Vengeful Blood Witch, which is basically the exact same thing, but just for 20, for a quarter, which that's why I played the Vengeful Blood Witch instead of the Zulaport Cutthroat. I guess if you're playing group games of Pioneer, play Zulaport Cutthroat. Other than that, you can just play the Vengeful Blood Witch. And then we're also playing 2 copies of Voice of Resurgence. It's just a great card. I mean, we're in Abzan, so it's in our colors. It's 2 bodies in 1, kind of like our 1-drops that we're playing. And it's nice because if our opponent is trying to interact with us on our turn, we get a little bit of value from that. So that's why I really like the 2 copies of Voice of Resurgence. And then rounding out our creatures, we're playing 3 Bartolome del Presidio and 4 copies of Woe Strider as our sack outlets. Free sack outlets are extremely important in a deck like this, and these ones are the best ones at our disposal. Bartolome bonus points because it is a 2-drop, and it synergizes with the entire deck just because sacrifice an artifact creature, put a 1 counter on it. So we can make Bartolome really big by sacrificing all of our creatures, getting additional value. A bunch of our creatures die already and make another creature, and we can sack those creatures to make Bartolome even bigger. Overall, it's just fantastic. And then we're obviously playing the 3 copies of Sephiroth, which is fantastic. So we got a lot of drainers, we got the free sack outlets, we got everything we need, but there's 2 more cards that we got to talk about. And that is the non-creature spells. We are playing 3 copies of Rally the Ancestors and 4 copies of Collected Company. I really love Rally the Ancestors in this deck. I'm playing it over Raise the Past just because we do have a few 3-drops, so that way for 5 mana we can bring back all of our 3-drops and just go for an instant 1 quick kill by sacrificing all of our creatures. And heck, we can have a whole bunch of creatures in play already. We sack them all to, our sack outlets well, and then, we play all the drainers or whatever, and then we just rally them all back, and then sack, and then the opponent is absolutely dead. But we're also playing Collected Company to help us put some of those creatures into play. A nice 1-2 punch from the Khans of Tarkir original block there. Okay, so that's the entire main board except for the lands, which we're going to hop into that right now. We're playing 23 lands. It's a pretty standard Abzan mana base, really nothing too crazy. We're playing 4 copies of Concealed Courtyard, 4 copies of Blooming Marsh, and 3 copies of Razorverge Thicket as our main dual lands. We are also playing 4 Godless Shrine, 4 Overgrown Tomb as our shock lands. We're also playing 1 copy of Midgar City of Mako. I really do like this card in our sacrifice deck because we can sacrifice an artifact or creature, which again, part of the reason why I also like Gilded Goose. If you do draw 2 cards, it's just great, and then we can play it as a tap land for black mana. The reason I also have the question mark on there, I can't even find any price charting or anything on this card as of recording this video. I don't even know what this card is going to cost, but assuming it's not too crazy, pick it up for your deck. It just seems like extra bonus. I mean, it's a land that also we can draw some cards with. I don't know, seems pretty darn good in our deck. And then we're also playing 1 Takenuma, 1 Boseiju, and 1 Basic Plains. And as our spicy basic land of the day, I do like this Plains from Final Fantasy, but here's the thing. From the first video, I had, I remember what Abzan deck I did. I think it was the Abzan Humans one. No one told me what this is in the background of the art. Someone tell me what this is. I don't know. It's some weird rock crystal. No clue. Please, somebody has to tell me what this is. If you play Final Fantasy, you gotta let me know. I have no idea. Okay, so that's the entire main board. Let's go and hop into the sideboard real quick. So sideboarding is going to be relatively straightforward, and I always love to mention, if your sideboard looks different than mine, that's totally fine. This is just a general sideboard that I would consider playing if I was going to be playing this at one of my local FNMs or playing some Magic Arena. So, I am playing 4 Fatal Push and 3 Thoughtseize as our main interaction. Fatal Push is awesome, we're in black, we might as well play it. Thoughtseize, same thing, the card is fantastic. We can bring it in against a number of different matchups. The card is awesome. We're also playing 2 copies of Thalia, the Guardian of Thraben. I just figured we're not playing a lot of non-creatures, and you want to know what? Our opponent's probably going to. So if we're playing against, like, Is It Phoenix or a big Spellslinger deck, I think Thalia could be absolutely fantastic in the sideboard. I'm also playing 3 copies of Knight of Autumn and 3 copies of Skyclave Apparition. Knight of Autumn gets rid of so many problematic cards in the metagame right now, most notably Corey Steelcutter and Unholy Annex Ritual Chamber. It's good at blowing up both of those. Skyclave Apparition is just a really nice, just catch-all card. Again, we can put both of these into play with Collected Company, which is why I also really, really like them. But yeah, both just fantastic cards in their own right, and we're going to actually talk about those in a moment here. But the next thing we have to talk about is the tips and strategy. A few things that if you're looking to play this deck, it can really, really help you out. I've got 2 things I want to go over. So the first thing is the drain creatures are different. So Cruel Celebrant and Vengeful Bloodwitch each say whenever this creature or another creature we control. Sephiroth says whenever another creature dies. So obviously it doesn't count itself, but it counts our opponent's creatures as well, which is very, very important. So just make sure when you're playing this deck, you really know your triggers, because it's going to be, embarrassing if you sack your Sephiroth, you think like, oh, I've got the lethal because I did this, and then you either you missequence it or you sack something that you weren't supposed to, and like, just make sure you know how your triggers work, at least in this deck. The Cruel Celebrant and the Vengeful Bloodwitch are both the same. Just keep that in mind with Sephiroth. And then the other thing I have to mention is counter their counter. I've mentioned this in previous videos when we play graveyard decks. When we play graveyard decks, our opponents are going to be bringing in their Rest in Pieces and their Leyline of the Voids and their Unlicensed Hearses and their Grafdigger's Cage, which not that Cage hurts us too much. I guess it does help with, or hurt us against Rally the Ancestors. And actually, Collected Company, I take that back. Yeah, Cage is really good against us. Make sure we're bringing in cards like Knight of Autumn and Skyclave Apparition to help clean those cards up, because after all, we want to be able to do our thing. If our opponent's playing Rest in Peace and all these tricky cards and isn't letting us do that, we need to make sure we stop them. So a lot of the time you should preemptively think like, oh, I'm playing against a white deck, they're probably going to have Rest in Peace, maybe I should bring in my Skyclave Apparitions, that kind of thing. So just make sure we counter their counter in games 2 and 3 possibly. Okay, the last thing I have to talk about is the budget options for this deck, which it's really straightforward. Swap out Sephiroth. I don't know how expensive this card's going to be, but I know it's not going to be like a $3 or $4 card. It's going to be crazy expensive. But you can also switch the deck to Golgari or Orzhov. So I would say I really like the Abzan build, just because with Golgari you get like Collected Company and things like that, and you still get all your sack outlets, but you don't get Bartolome, so you'd have to substitute it with a different free sack outlet. Orzhov's kind of the same thing. We don't get Gilded Goose, we don't get like the Blister Pod, we don't get Voice of Resurgence, we don't get Collected Company. So I really like the fact of playing Abzan. We get the best of both worlds, but if you really wanted to go ultra budget, you could go 2-color with this deck. The current list as it's constructed right now is $228 US, and that's without Sephiroth. Because I mean, $228. Remember, we're playing all the I was gonna say fetch lands. We're playing all the shock lands. We're playing our channel lands. We're playing a 3-color mana base. So the fact that this deck's only $228 US without it is really good. But I was able to get the budget list down to $67 US. Obviously, I did cut Sephiroth. I cut a few cards like Thoughtseize as well. The collected companies are still in there. All the fast lanes are still in there. I really just played a few budget options that are still really, really good, and that's it. So the entire core of this deck is really, really cheap. It just comes down to a couple of these Final Fantasy cards that we don't know what the price is of them. But it's tricky because, for instance, Sephiroth is really, really good. This is going to be an extremely popular set. People are going to want to play Commander decks with this. They're going to want to try it in other formats. It's also just a fantastic card, so who knows? Maybe even Golgari or Rakdos Sacrifice might even start playing a card like Sephiroth, just because it gets a lot of good abilities with a Cauldron Familiar, for instance. So who knows how expensive this card's going to be? But one thing we know for sure, this card is awesome. Sephiroth, a super strong card, and if you open copies of it in any of your sealed product, definitely hang on to them because the card is awesome, and this deck is proof of that. Okay, well that takes us to the end of the video here. Thanks so much for watching. The deck lists are in the description below if you'd like to check them out for yourself. Huge shout out to our channel members, Ralph, Matt, Arcadius, Ray, Gary, Saronoki, Michael D, our premium channel member, The Common Cold, Jeremy P, and BG Stilts. If you are interested in being a channel member, it starts at $1 US a month, and you gain access to the exclusive Commander Crane Discord, as well as other features here on the channel. So, I'm Commander Crane, thanks for watching this video, and hope to catch you in the next one.